Imagine this. You finally get an interview for your dream job. You go to the interview and they ask you, if you could be an animal, what would you be?
Why would they ever do that? What does that have to do with anything?
Well, I suppose it breaks the ice a bit, but also apparently there's psychology behind it. Your answer will kind of show how you might be a fit for the role and how you might be a fit for the company, I guess.
It's still scary, and the question makes me anxious just thinking about it, but that's fine.
Oh, good. In that case, Michelle, if you could be an animal, what would you be? This isn't a podcast with all the answers.
It's a conversation about figuring things out as you go.
From two very different generations.
With Michelle R. Williams
and Nick Hirst.
Welcome to Life Happens. So today you will just make me feel like you're interviewing me. That definitely doesn't make me anxious, especially looking at you and you acting all scary about it. So that's totally fine. And also today, it's the first time after quite some time when I have to look at you and not the Christmas tree that was behind you the whole time.
Christmas tree is gone, it's true. Do you miss it?
I do miss it. And it's so funny because I genuinely think that this episode will be coming out in like March. So everyone will be like, why would he have a Christmas tree? It's literally spring, but we are recording it in January and after quite a long time, but you got rid of it quite recently, like a week ago, so we missed it.
I think it's more like 2 weeks ago, but yeah, no more Christmas tree. English people, we have this thing, or I suppose British people, I don't know if you have it in other parts of the world, but we have this thing, the 12 days of Christmas, and you are supposed to take down your Christmas tree on 12th night. Otherwise, it's unlucky. So I think I sort of went over that deadline by about 24 hours, but in the end, I managed to be the one to take it down.
My point was that I will just miss the Christmas tree because it was really nice. It was my co-host at this point. We had quite a lot of episodes with it. And it was so funny because it will always light up in the worst moment possible when we were talking about the most serious topic and you were talking and I was trying to look, very serious and I'm actually listening to you. And the Christmas tree just started doing its own thing and living its own life. And it was just hilarious. And I will really miss it. Now I have to look at you again.
What do you mean actually listening to me? I mean, you're always actually listening to me.
Yes, of course. Can you keep that delusion and just roll with it? Anyway, let's move on. So I'm at the interview, all right?
Yeah, and then I say to you, do you know what animal you would be if you could be an animal?
To be fair, I mean, I was acting all dramatic about it just like minutes ago, but being the person I am and thinking about all of these philosophical things and those random things that have nothing to do with the real life, actually, I know my answer. And I know my answer since I was like 11 years old. So, I'm so ready to be asked that question. But to be fair, I still find it weird being asked that in an interview. I mean, I only went through like 2 interviews in my life. I love the question and I love this topic and it's connected to so many things and it's actually very close to me. But I still think that if I get asked that in an interview, being all professional and, being an adult and just like adulting and being like, okay, I will have a job, blah, blah, blah. It's still weird. I would still be taken aback because it's a fun game that you just talk about with your friends and like you compare people to animals and so on and so on. But it just doesn't seem very professional. But I get the psychology behind it and it can actually tell you a lot. So in its own way, it's great. It's just a bit weird.
Yeah. Okay. Hold that thought for a moment because we will do the big reveal. You will tell us what animal you would be and I will tell you what animal I would be. I just wanted to say that I've done a lot of interviews in my life on both sides of the table. I've applied for a lot of jobs. I had 24 jobs before becoming a podcaster.
I feel like I should have interviewed you before we started doing this in the way that I would actually take it as a job, because clearly you take it as a job now. And to be fair, it is a full-time job, more than a full-time job. And that's actually not a bad idea. Can we switch sides, and can I be the interviewer?
Yeah, that would be kind of interesting to
And if I don't like your answer, I might still fire you and like take Caroline instead of you, or someone else, or just do it on my own. I'm just painting the picture so you are properly nervous as everyone else is when it comes to job interviews. You know, I'm just trying to get you into character.
Okay. Actually, to be honest, I have to say that I've done, as I say, a lot of job interviews. Nervous is, you sort of get a bit nervous, but the fact is I really kind of enjoy them. And I've done so many over the years that, I like it. I like that kind of repartee. And I've done so many different ones. I mean, if I go back years and years and years to like one of the first job interviews I had with the BBC, and I had a few, and I had one with BBC, what was then called BBC Radio Brighton. It was a local radio station based in, unsurprisingly, Brighton. It's changed now. I think it's just South Coast Radio or something. Anyway, so I went into this job interview, and I'm going back to the notes here. And no kidding, I walked into this room and there were 9 people sitting there, ranged in seats opposite me, who were going to interview me. 9. I mean, these were in the days when the BBC really had a problem with overmanning, just too many people. And not only that, I can remember that half of the people were smoking, and I think I smoked as well during the course of the interview. It was just
so
ridiculous.
80s.
It really was. It was just such a different time. But I can tell you, nobody asked me what animal I was going to be. On the other side of the table, and I would be actually the one doing interviews. And at the BBC, they had this scheme where they would bring in trainees, and you would join the BBC relatively unskilled, straight from school or straight from university, and then you would get training, and then it would allow you to possibly climb that ladder, and go on to become a producer or presenter or whatever over a period of time.
That's kind of how it should be.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes a lot of sense.
And they did provide a very good career structure, and there was a lot of very good in-house training. So anyway, whenever they launched one of these schemes, which would be every sort of couple of years, I'm guessing, I can't really remember, there would be thousands and thousands of applications. So if you were in management, which I was by that time, you then would get given a whole pile of job applications, and you would have to sift through and decide who was worthy of getting interviews. But out of all this, there would be several hundred people would be chosen for interview. And then, I'd say several hundred, probably about 200. Then there would be teams of management who would then do all these preliminary interviews to whittle it down to about 50 people. And then out of those 50 people, eventually, I think about 10 people would get selected and go on to this kind of course to become working for the BBC. So I would be co-opted into doing interviews. And then in other jobs I've had as well, I've interviewed a lot of people. It is huge responsibility. And to be honest, you're actually slightly more nervous on the other side of the table, I think, than you are if you're applying for a job, because you could apply for lots of jobs. But when you're on the other side, you're in a job and you've got to choose the right person. And it can be hard. It can be really hard.
Yeah, that makes sense.
One thing I can say, I never asked anybody, if you could be an animal, what animal would you be? Because to be honest, I'd have felt really stupid if I'd have asked that.
Right?
Because I would have felt I was kind of, belittling it somehow. Does that make sense?
It's just a bit ridiculous. But also, I think that it really depends on the person who's asking that. Because to be fair, you are scary. And I can't imagine sitting there facing you. You're like 2 meters above me, even when you are sitting down. So I'll be looking up at you. And, I can't imagine you just sitting there being like, so if you could be an animal, I'd just be like, dude, I'm out of here. I'm not talking to this man. He's asking me weird questions. But if I ask that, someone else, if I was the one who's interviewing, that would be fine because, I feel like I give out that vibe that I can ask that and it will calm the person down. Because to be fair, I feel like if someone, my age or someone more like laid back ask me that, it would make me feel like we are friends. It would be like, oh, that's such it would calm me down. But if you
Mm.
ask me that, I would immediately doubt, why are you asking me that? I would be like, there's some catch. There is only one right answer, and if I don't get it right, it's like that kind of question. What was first, a chicken or an egg? And certain people have certain opinions about that, and if you don't get the right opinion, you look like an idiot. So that's what I would be thinking. So maybe it's good that you never ask that. But you can ask me now. Now I'm not scared of you. Quite the opposite, actually. So if you want, this is your opportunity. You can ask me.
Well, I just have, and so we will have the big reveal in a moment, and then you can ask me the same question.
I'm actually really curious about it because I know you quite a lot. We will get to that because what we were talking about recently. But I was really thinking about what you can be, and I have no idea. I have no idea. And once you tell me, you have to let me think about it for a while to make the connection. And also, I can't promise that I won't start laughing. So let's just, like cut that out and let's pretend that I'm being all professional about it. And I'm definitely not making fun of you for that. Right? Deal?
Deal. Okay. But then you've got to tell me yours. And I have really no idea. So that is kind of
Once
interesting.
I tell you, it will make perfect sense. And I believe I will never hear the end of it for the rest of my life. So
I just remembered actually the only time that this has actually happened to me was when I was working for a startup company, and we had about, I think, between 10 and 15 people were eventually taken on board by the company. But I was one of the original people starting the company. And we had this kind of away day where we got everybody together so that we could sort of bond, basically, a bonding session for a whole day.
team
And we'd
building.
hired a room above a pub in the centre of London, and we sat there. And then one of the people, a woman called Anne, she came up with this, to try and help all of us get along and get to know each other. And so she introduced this idea of, we would go around the table and everybody would tell the group what animal they would be if they could be an animal, how they saw themselves, and why. And, because it was sort of a way of an insight into everybody's personality. It was fun. It was lighthearted. It gave us an opportunity to have a laugh with each other and just get to know each other and get to be comfortable in each other's presence. But the way that we did it, as I remember, was that she put this out there and told us, this is why we're doing it, for a bit of fun, but there might be a sort of serious point to it. And we then sort of had a few minutes to think about it, write down our animal and write down a few sentences about why. So it was sort of serious. But I mean, there is a psychology to it, which you would probably be able to explain more because you're the psychology student. I'm the media guy.
Yes, of course, there is psychology behind it. And that's why I now feel a little bit bad because we are now making fun of it. We're like, oh my gosh, this is stupid, and like, blah, blah, blah. But I'm actually a huge fan of that question. And it's not only it can tell yourself a lot about yourself when you actually think about that answer, but as an outsider, I can imagine, being the woman who asked the group, the answer will tell you just so much, but not based on the animal, but also based on the way people approach that question. Because you ask this seemingly childish, funny, stupid question, and you bet there will be people who will see it that way. And they will be like, that's so stupid. I don't want to think about it. My question is like, I don't know, dog, because that's the first animal I can think of. And then there will be people who will actually think about it and come up with, original and really self-aware answer. And just that will tell you so much. So I think it's more about the reaction to it than the actual answer.
I think also that there's a thing that, different animals we perceive as having different personalities, different attributes. So somebody who says they're a lion, they probably see themselves very much as the leader, as the alpha male.
Oh
Someone
gosh.
who says, I'm trying to think of another animal I was about to say cat, but I mean, on the other hand, a lion is the biggest form of cat that you can get.
Yeah,
So it's
but
not so different.
I know what you mean, because we have these stereotypical views on animals, and you can see it, like in general, we see dogs as loyal. We see,
Yeah.
I don't know, we just have these types of stereotypes. And one of the examples that I thought of, which is something I want to talk about shortly, because I want to get a bit into the psychology of animals in general. What would you imagine? Can you imagine someone sitting there? You ask them the question, and their answer would be a rat. What would that make you think? Rat. First thing that comes to your mind.
Yeah, it's something that is kind of antisocial, dirty, and quite likely to bite you.
Yeah, yeah. First thing that I think of is a traitor,
Ah,
because I feel like that's a lot of things connected to it. Just maybe it's on top of my head right now because I recently watched Harry Potter, and in the Prison of Azkaban, you have Peter Pettigrew, who is the
mm,
traitor and who is the bad guy, and his animal form is a rat.
mm,
And it
mm.
fits the narrative, but it's also very stereotypical. But it can't be more wrong, because I will get to some examples of psychology in animals. But just like, long story short, rats are so intelligent. They are so just smart, and they stood at the beginning of research about learning skills in humans. And I have a close friend of mine, and she works with rats, and she's been for ages now. And so I've seen it, first-handed. And you can train them. You can literally train them, and they behave like dogs when they are trained. And they are just very communicative and very, very intelligent. So, to be fair, having that knowledge, I would love to say that if I was an animal, I would be a rat. But if you say it to people, that will just paint a completely wrong picture. You know what I'm saying?
Mm. I didn't know all that, to be honest. And actually, a couple of days ago, my daughter came and asked if can we have a rat as a pet. I'm going, no, absolutely not.
Yes, Nick.
And
Oh my gosh, get a rat. They are adorable.
and she said, why not? I said, because it's a rat.
Exactly.
Hmm?
That's so. I'm on your daughter's side once again. Get a rat, please. I mean, you have a cat though, so maybe not. But yes, get a rat. You can train
Yeah,
her,
that's
and you can
that's
have her
my
like a
argument.
podcast mascot. You can just have her like this. Like, oh my gosh, you can be Ratatouille. You can train the rat to cook with you. See, there are so many opportunities of what to do
I'm
with a
perfectly
rat. You have to
capable
get
of
a rat.
cooking without having a rat on my head. And if you haven't seen the film Ratatouille, shame on you. Go and watch it immediately. It's very, very
Love
good.
it. Beautiful movie.
And of
Adore
course,
it. See,
going,
that's the only movie when you have a rat and the rat is a good guy. But if you think about it, the fact that he's a good guy, what's his name? Remy. Remy is a good guy. It makes him an outsider, because all of the other rats are stereotypical bitches. And he's an outsider because he's a good one, and he's clean and everything. The rest of them are dirty. So again, so stereotypical.
yeah. And also, Remy is a very, very talented chef. And I actually don't know of many rats that are in real life very talented chefs. But
Maybe because you don't have a rat yet. Maybe you would be surprised if you actually got one.
well, I'll take that under advisement. Thank you so much, Michelle, for
You're welcome. You're
your
welcome.
two penneth, as we say in English. But on the subject of rats, and actually just to broaden it out, of course, you have the Chinese astrology where everybody is an animal, and you do
Yeah.
have the year of the rat. Rats are one of them. And many, many years ago, I had a girlfriend who was born in the Chinese Year of the Rat, and she was really into all that kind of stuff. But she really hated the fact that she was a rat.
I don't really know anything about a Chinese calendar and animals connected to it, because I know a lot of like zodiac signs and stuff like that, but I don't know a lot about this. But I know my answer too, and I want to know yours.
I will tell you later, and there's a reason why I can't tell you now, which you'll
Okay.
find out in due course of this particular episode.
But the fact that, like people compare themselves to animals in like many different ways, this being one of them, the Chinese calendar, even sort of zodiac signs. I mean, you have a couple of animals there, even though not all of it is an animal, but you know what I mean. And I feel like we naturally do that. Even when you think back to mythology and just history of, humans, always do exist next to animals and compare ourselves to them. And it's not random. It's genuinely not random. It's based on a lot of psychology research, which, this is me coming back to my point, because a lot of very important blocks of psychology, modern psychology, are based on research in animals. Because, it kind of makes sense, because when people started researching these things, when you start with something, it's hard to start with people, and humans were considered too complicated and too complex. Plus, there's this whole ethical point of view, which that's totally another topic that we won't be getting into right now, like doing these researches on animals. But, we are going back like 100 years. So obviously 100 years, the views on that were read different. And so it was more ethical to do certain researches on animals than it was on humans, logically. But also it's because I can kind of see the point, because people think about it too much. And so it's hard to research and study the natural responses. And one of the natural responses that I kind of want to get into just shortly, this won't be a psychology lesson, but just to give a couple of examples, one of the very first and most important blocks of psychology is based on Ivan Pavlov's research and his dogs, and it's quite a famous one. Do you know what's it?
Even I have heard of Pavlov's dogs.
Even you, yeah, it's a really famous one, but it's famous for a reason, or like there are so many things based on that. But for someone who doesn't really know what it's about, it came to be when, and Pavlov, funnily enough, wasn't a psychologist, and he did this research totally basically by a mistake when he was doing a study on dog's salivation. And, he started with his research and so on and so on. And obviously, salivation in animals and in humans as well is a natural response. You think of food, you see food, it's a natural response you can't just affect with your thoughts.
Oh.
And eventually, after doing the research for a couple of days, he noticed that the dog started salivating not when they smelled the food, but when his assistant came through the door, because they knew that his assistant coming in meant they will get food. But it had no connection to the food. So he started basing his research on that. And it was the very first step to connecting our responses to things that are not natural to us. And, nowadays you can imagine it with like an email notification. If you know that you have a stressful job and every time an email comes, it means something bad, or it means more work, it means that you will be stressed, you will get used to the sound of email notification. And when you hear that sound, you are automatically stressed without seeing what the email is about or who sent it.
True.
And automatically you are stressed.
Yeah.
And if you did this research with people, it would be complicated, because people can think about it and they can, give different answers and so on and so on. But doing this research on dogs just showed how natural it is and how it can be trained. So, again, I kind of get why people are doing these things with animals. And another thing that I find so interesting, and it just says a lot. And I was thinking about it when it comes to myself. It was Harlow's experiment with monkeys. Do you know that one?
No.
They took a baby monkey and they put it in the box or whatever it was with 2 figurines that were supposed to replicate a mother to them, and there were 2 of them, and one of them was made out of soft material. It was warm and comfortable, and the other one was, I don't know, from wood or something. It was just like basic, not dangerous, but like not comfortable, but it had food. And naturally, if you think about Marlow's pyramid of needs, at the very bottom of it, it's sleep, being somewhere warm and having food and having something to drink. That's the basic need we have. But in this experiment, they gave the monkey these 2 options and then they scared it. And the monkey naturally went to the soft mother, to the comforting one, to the warm one. And it just shows, and that experiment then developed. It was starting point for research on attachment, and it showed that in dangerous situations, animals, speaking of babies in this case, tend to choose the knowing comfort, and they tend to follow their emotion and not the logical choice, which, to be fair, says a lot about people. And we gravitate towards things we know, and they are our comfort zone, instead of stepping out of the comfort zone for something that's better for us or logical. And if you think about it like that, I was thinking about it. I was like, yeah, I actually kind of do that. Like if I was the monkey, I would also choose the comfort. And I remember when I was watching the video of that experiment, I was like, I get that monkey. Like I would do the same. And that made me think like, am I that simple? Like, do I really have the same tendencies and reactions as a baby monkey? I mean, what do you think about that?
Well, I'm thinking now, should I be thinking of you as a monkey?
No, that's not the
That sort
point.
of works for me.
Funnily enough, yeah.
I want to see your monkey impression.
Gosh, no. But coming back to the Chinese calendar, I am born in the year of a monkey.
There we go.
And I just hate how I just finished that circle on my own without you having to think about it.
Well, now I know that.
Now you know
I'm
that.
never going to let that go.
Oh my goodness. Love it. But at the same time, monkeys are, I feel like also coming back to stereotypes, we see monkeys as these very silly, clown-like creatures. And, you always, when little kids are making something funny and kind of stupid, you tell them like, oh my gosh, you act like a little monkey and so on and so on. Not a stereotype, but monkeys are actually really smart. And I mean, they are very close to us. Maybe we shouldn't be making fun of them, though.
And I was just thinking as you saying that about how many songs, because you know me and my music.
Oh gosh.
How many songs have animals in the even if it's not actually about animals? I mean, I can think of 2 straight off the top of my head with the word monkey in the title. There's from 1969, probably, Rolling Stones song called Monkey Man. And then there's more recently Robbie Williams, Me and My Monkey.
Because we are naturally connected to animals. That's how it is. And you don't realize it until you think about it. And also like one more thing, coming back to the experiments with animals and so on, because I started all of this with rats, so I just wanted to close that circle, because I already hinted at that rats were actually used in researches on learning styles, and it was rats and mazes. When obviously they were putting rats in different mazes, there was always on one side there was a treat, on the other wasn't, many different combinations of that. And again, you think it's a stupid rat. Like, at least when you think about monkeys or dogs, you can name them as, intelligent animals, but you're like, what you can see in rats. Funnily enough, rats show one of the most personalities amongst animals, and you can see rats' personalities. And in this research, it was so interesting how every rat just came to the conclusion and just fixed the problem that was the maze in their own way. And some of them panicked and some of them just stood there and thought about it. And, like it's really interesting to, it's kind of hard to explain it, but I saw many videos from these experiments and you can see how they are actually thinking about it and you can see their personalities, which again sort of ties to people. And there's this one saying that I just found and I just love. And I don't know what you would call it, but I call it the educational system paradox. Because if you think about children at school, they all have, we all want everything to be fair. So they all have the same questions and the same everything. We treat them the same. Obviously, if they are diagnosed with something, that's a different story. But in general, we just try to treat everyone equally. But there are so many personalities that you can't do that. And that's the thing that I was talking about, that sort of says it's a picture of a teacher, and the teacher is standing beside a tree and he's saying, okay, so because we want everything to be fair, all of you have a simple thing to do: climb that tree. And then you look at the other side and there are different animals, and there's an elephant, there's a hedgehog, there is a snake, there is an ant, and you are like, yeah, it's fair, we are all about to climb the same tree under the same condition, but it's not fair because we don't have the same ability. And that connects to the experiments with rats. And then eventually, you can connect it to people and children when we have so many different approaches to problems, but people tend to treat everyone so equally that it makes it harder instead of easier.
I like that idea of different animals trying to climb a tree because, that really does illustrate that everybody does have different abilities. Because you're not going to see an elephant climbing a tree quite as adroitly as a monkey would. On the other hand, I would say to all teachers out there, don't get kids climbing trees because they might fall out. Then you're going to be in.
Are you speaking from experience, though?
I just wanted to point out before we're going to do the reveal of the animals that we think we would be. I have a list of some animals and what their personality associations are. So if you were to get asked the question in an interview, so if you say you're a dog, that kind of suggests that you're seeing yourself and you're portraying yourself as being loyal. I'm reading now, I've got a script here saying loyal, playful, social, eager to please. Think golden retriever. That's one type of cat. These are the two most common answers I would imagine. If you say you're a cat, you're independent, mysterious, self-sufficient, observant, lion, leader, dominant, strong, active, sometimes lazy. Lion isn't my animal, by the way, but there you go. Then
too
just
bad,
a
because
couple of others.
I already have jokes to make, but I will come up with
couple of others on my list. Fox, considered clever, adaptable, strategic, sometimes tricky. I would also say psychotic killer. I think it's time that we did the reveal. What animal are you?
But I have to go first. I have to be the one who makes fun of you first. I have to enjoy it before you can make fun of me back.
All right. Do you want me to go first?
Yeah.
All right. So my animal, that I answered the one time I was put on the spot, a horse. What? There's nothing. Why? Now you've got to explain why you think that's so funny. I think you can't go wrong with a horse. Who doesn't like a horse?
Know what? You know why it's funny? Because it's so true. That's why it's funny. And I immediately, oh my God. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense, yeah. Care to explain in your own words before I start putting words into your mouth?
Well, first of all, my Chinese horoscope is I am the year of the horse. So that led me to horses. I've always really liked horses, and I've in the past been a very active fan of horse racing.
And personality-like? What do you think it says about you, personality-wise?
I don't know. Well,
emotionally,
horses are empathetic. The animal was. I actually saw this in a movie in the last couple of days. They are the animal world's natural empaths. And so when you're riding a horse, the horse should become empathetic with you and sense what you want to do, unless you're one of those people when you sit on a horse and you're absolutely terrified and you just don't know what to do and you're looking for, where's the brakes? Stuff like that. But generally
Where's the wheel?
horses sense that. And I
Mm.
think I'm quite sensitive to other people, although I may not always share it. And, you know, horses have a degree of intelligence. So I like to think that I have a degree of intelligence. And
Hmm.
I can't think of much more. Let's go with that for now.
No, that's actually so interesting. And it actually makes so much sense. And I can already sort of make the connection, like knowing you. It makes perfect sense. And I love that answer. And I'm sorry that I started laughing, but I warned you. To be fair, I told you I will laugh. But now I'm thinking about it, it's actually, yeah, I was not expecting that, but it makes so much fucking sense. Love it. And also just the idea of like, just one of the examples that immediately came to my mind is that so many people are terrified of horses because they can be quite scary, and you are scary as fuck, man. Like, yeah, and we all know that. And there are two types of people: either horse people who like love horses, they're like, no, they're actually really nice, like, they're really nice animals, and people who will never come even close to them because they are terrified of them. So I think that says a lot about you.
Yeah, I hadn't thought of that, but it's true, I suppose.
I
Although
love that.
in my teaching days, in the latter part of my life, and in fact, even when I was your teacher, in fact, it was people from your class gave me a nickname because there were
Really?
there were certain boys in your class who used to try and act up, and I had to be firm, shall we say. And apparently they used to call me the dragon.
I remember that. Yeah. I wasn't friends with these guys, but yeah, I remember that.
And this got leaked to me, and to be honest, I was really flattered. I thought, yeah, I'll go with that. Dragon
Yeah,
works
because
for
they
me.
were scared of you, yeah. Which
Yeah.
is fair enough.
It's time for your reveal. What animal would you be?
Okay, I need you to think about it because it's such a basic bitch answer, and I'm aware of that. But I will explain it. It will make sense because I'm like 100% sure that in my past life I was a cat.
So you're a cat.
Tell me it doesn't make sense.
No, that does make sense. And
You have a cat. You are a cat dad, so you have it
I do.
first-handed.
Yeah. And I even have it here in front of me. Cats, independent, mysterious, self-sufficient, observant. And then it says, like a wildcat. So yeah, I see all of those things in you, and I have seen them. And also because you move very well. Obviously, you've been dancing since you were pretty much born. So you have that natural, if you like, cat-like movement, because cats do move with a kind of a certain perfection. Did you see what I did?
Yeah.
So
Good one. Yeah, and I've been told that a lot during my life, that even I sort of move like it or look like it. And also, like, if you think about it, I feel like you either love or hate cats. People are not really neutral about them. I feel like dogs are very neutral, or you mostly like dogs. I don't think I know many people who would hate dogs, but a lot of people hate cats, and I'm actually quite proud of that. I keep saying that I'm exactly the type of person who you either love or hate, and I'm actually quite fine with that. Like, I don't really mind people hating me. Like, I'm fine with that. Also, it's about control, because if I think about all the people who don't like cats, they are usually like, oh yeah, because they are so bitchy and you can never predict in what mood they will be and so on. So I'm like, no, you just don't know how to work with them. I'm not one you can control. But at the same time, if I decide that you are a safe person, I'm really loving person. So that's sort of my explanation. And I think, it makes
perfect.
sense. And with the
completely.
independence and all of that.
It is you. So now I see it, you're a cat. And now, because I'm a relatively recent convert to cats, I've always been a dog person, always had dogs. And then in the last, I don't know how long it is now, about 8 years, we've had a cat because my kids wanted a cat. I mean, cats have always liked me. Animals like me. And I grew up on a farm with quite a lot of animals, and I've always liked animals, and which is why I don't eat them. But I would go and visit friends of mine, or when I was a kid, friends of my parents who had cats, and the cats would always come to me and then rub themselves on me. I actually had a great aunt, one of my favorite great aunts. I would go and stay with her. She lived in the south coast of England by the sea, and she had 20 cats, just a huge amount of cats. And she knew the name of
Wow.
every single one of them. It was amazing. And you should see feeding time. Early evening, outside the
I
back door.
see my future bright and clear. That's gonna be me. That's like dream life.
Listen, to round it off, I've got this quiz here, fun quiz. It's an online quiz, and you answer some silly questions, and then it will come up with what animal it thinks you are. I did this quiz, and it didn't come up with me being a horse. I'll tell you what it did come up with when we finished doing it. And if you at home want to do it, you may have seen already, we've put the link to this quiz in the description of this podcast. So go back to it and click on it, and then you can go and do it. And while you're doing that, give us a like and follow us. But first, the quiz. So very quickly, we shall go through these.
Are you doing this on me?
Yeah, of course I
Oh
am.
gosh. Oh my gosh. Am I a lab rat now?
Yes, you are.
Okay.
Lab
That's
cat.
fine. I'm fine with that.
So just don't overthink it. Just first answer that comes into your head. And also, and they're all multiple choice questions. Question number 1, choose a cheesy inspirational quote. 1, but first coffee. 2, donut, as in donut. Donut worry, be happy. 3, keep calm and carry on. 4, live, love, laugh. And your answer is?
Well, let me think about the answer for a moment while I sip on my drink that is definitely not a coffee. You know my answer. Jeez, anything that has to do with coffee is my answer.
Do you like roller coasters?
I don't know. I was on a roller coaster like twice in my life, and both times I was forced to do that, but at the same time I enjoyed it. So I probably don't hate it, but I'm not a huge fan either.
In your opinion, what's the best type of vacation, or as we say in English, holiday? 1, road trips with lots of stops along the way. 2, one where I get to stay home, no travel required. 3, a weekend trip to the coast. 4, a vacation where I get to fly halfway across the world.
Do you know my answer?
I think it's the last one.
Yeah.
A vacation where I get to fly.
Further from Czech Republic, the better. So.
What's your biggest pet peeve? 1, people who crack their knuckles, people who always show up late, people who chew loudly, people who talk during the movies.
Let me think about which one of these are you, and then we will have my answer. I think it's people who are always late, because I'm always early and I hate when people ruin my schedules. So yeah, that one.
What's your idea of a fun second date? Fun.
I never get a second date. I don't know.
Oh dear. You have to try and think, what would your...
Imagine you get a date.
What type of gesture is most meaningful to you? 1, being given a warm hug. 2, receiving a random but thoughtful gift. 3, getting an unsolicited compliment. 4, someone making the time to be with you. I
just realized I don't like people showing me they love me. I guess the last one, because I hate when people are touching me. I'm not a huge fan of gifts, and I don't know how to take a compliment. So probably the last one. Quality time forever.
Which strange event would you most like to experience? 1, visiting a real haunted house. 2, spotting a UFO. 3, switching bodies with someone else. And 4, meeting my long-lost twin.
Shut up. These are all good. I love haunted houses. I believe in UFOs, and I'm fascinated by the universe. I would also want to switch body with somebody. And just that would be cool too. But meeting my twin? Getting to know if I'm the evil one? 100% sign me up.
Okay.
I could look at me. Is that too self-centered to say that I would love to look at myself from third point of view?
Yeah, completely. But it's quite interesting and quite revealing.
Okay.
Okay.
Why are we calling me out in this episode? It's just my
We're not.
personality is coming out.
Next week you can do a quiz on me then. Works for me. These are all real, and it's all remind you of living in America. Pick a silly American law that currently either exists or used to exist.
Oh gosh,
So these
why
are
are we
actual
coming
laws.
back to Americans again?
It just is how this quiz goes.
I kind of like what it was, alligator one, crocodile one.
It's illegal to stash an alligator in your bathtub.
I'm having carbs in my bathtub. You bet I will have a fucking alligator there.
So you're picking that one. So you're going to break the law with your alligator.
Well, yeah, I mean, if I have to, even if I don't have to.
Okay, and now we get the answer. You want to know what you are?
Yeah.
Here is the big reveal. Michelle R. Williams, you are a raven.
A raven?
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
That's actually quite cool. I love that.
And I'm actually quite jealous because you know what I got when I did that? I am an otter.
That's so cute. I love that. See, I think that's the animals we chose are sort of how we present ourselves, but this is who we really are.
So I'm a horse and an otter.
Kind of makes a lot of sense.
You're a cat and a raven. I think you got the better deal there. Cat and a raven's kind of cool.
That's really cool. Love it. I'm 100% happy with that.
And that's it for this week. And don't forget, if you want to do that quiz, you'll find the link in the description to this podcast, wherever you're watching it. And while you're going and looking for the link, don't forget, leave us a like and follow us. It really does help. And that's it. We'll catch you for the next episode.